Hi guys. In previous videos, we saw how to install Palo Alto Firewall from scratch and do some basic settings, apply licenses and all. So in this video, I'll be showing you how to configure OSPF on Palo Alto Firewalls. And I have two Palo Alto Firewalls, Firewall 1 and Firewall 2, as you can see here. And this is the topology diagram for your reference. I have kept the interfaces very minimal. So firewall 1 has this loopback interface with 192.168.1.1. Firewall 2 has two loopback interfaces with IPs 2.1 and 20.1. So the IPs are pretty much we can remember them. Okay, so this is basic setup, and and they are directly connected, and I'll be configuring OSPF between them. Okay, so my firewall 1 is running OS 9.1, and my firewall 2 is running the latest version right now, which is 10.0. Okay, so let's get started. So I will configure the firewall 1 first, and let's go to virtual routers, default, and static routes. So what I'll be doing is I'll be advertising static routes and connected routes from both the firewalls to each other. So let us first create some static routes. Okay. So let's create. This is the firewall one. So I'll create route one. Let's say the destination is 101/24. Okay. The interface is Ethernet 1. The gateway is 168.106.1. Okay, this is one route. Let me create one more route. Route 2 110.0/24. Let's say. Oops. Interface will be Ethernet 1 106.1. Okay, so it has two static routes. Okay, let me three static routes actually, but I'll be advertising only these routes, not the default routes. Okay, so let me click on OK, and I'll show you the interfaces as well. These are the Ethernet interfaces. Uh, this is actually my outside interface, and this is the interface which is connected to the other firewall. And this is the sorry, these are the loopback. This is the loopback interface. Okay, as shown in the diagram. Fine. So let me go back to the virtual router default, and let's configure OSPF now. So you just go to the OSPF tab and enable OSPF. I will be rejecting the default route from the other firewall. I don't need it. Router ID is any interface IP you can put, or if you don't put, it will automatically take one. But let me put this as 192.168.1.1. Okay, and you need to create an area. So I'll just create one default area 0. Type as normal. Let's keep it normal. Range interface virtual link. Let's keep everything as default as of now. Okay, auth profiles, I won't be authenticating them, so I don't need them. Export rules. Okay, and advanced. Okay, so I'll be what I'll be doing is I'll be redistributing those static routes. Okay, so I will create a redistribution profile first. Static routes, make it priority 1. So what is the maximum length is 16 only. So let me just give it. Let me just give profile 1. That's it. Okay. So I'll be exporting static routes. So let me click static, and be sure to select this as redistribute. Otherwise, it won't redistribute. Okay, if I don't put anything here, like if interface or destination or next stop, then it will by default export all the static routes on all the interfaces. If you want to filter routes only on one particular interface, okay, then you can select, then you can put filters here. In my case, I'll just keep it simple. I won't filter anything. Okay, and I will select that profile in the export tool. So what I'll mention is export this as external type 2, and I won't change the metric. I will keep it as default. Okay, so now this firewall is advertising those two static routes. Okay, let me commit it. Let's go to other firewall. So I'll show you the interfaces first. These are the data interfaces. In this, we have slight different assignment here. In the Ethernet 1 is connected to the internal firewall, and 2 is I've just assigned it as outside interface, which is the reverse in that firewall. And in this firewall, I have two loopback interfaces. Okay, one is 2.1 and one is 21.1. So let me go to the virtual routers, default, static routes. Let us configure some static routes on this firewall as well to advertise. Okay, I'll delete these two because let's keep it very simple. I will now create some static routes. Let's say in that firewall we had given dot one, so let's give it 2.2 here. Okay, route 1. And this I will give Ethernet 2. And let's give it the next hop as 9.9.9.99 just for example. Route 1 is done. Let's create route 2, 20.0/24, Ethernet 2, and 9. That's it. And let's create a redistribution profile here also. And we'll export the static routes and click on redistribution. Rest settings I'll keep it as default. Okay, now let's go back to Ospf, enable it. We are rating the default route here also, and here the router ID 192.168.2.1. The area ID has to be the same. I'll give the same range interface virtual link. I'll not do anything with that. Okay, and in the export rules, I will select that redistribution profile and click OK. Okay, that's it. So let me click OK and let me commit it. Okay, it has committed. Let me close it and let me small statistics. I don't see the routes. Let's see OSPF neighboring. No, so I think I made some configuration mistake. Let us review. Let's go to default OSPF. The same thing would happen here also, I guess. We won't see any neighbors. Yeah, okay, no problem. OSPF areas. Okay, I got that. So in the OSPF areas, we forgot to mention the interface. This is also an important setting. So we need to mention the interface which we need the firewall to participate in OSPF. Okay, so in firewall 2 it is Ethernet 1/1. Okay, let me confirm that. Yep, it is Ethernet 1. Let me commit it. And in firewall 2 it would be Ethernet 2. Ethernet 2, yeah. Okay, the commit is done. So let me close it. Let's go back to virtual routers, more runtime stats, routing, and yeah, we see the routes coming from the other firewall, right? So this is firewall 2, and these routes are from firewall 1, which we have got through OSPF. Okay, so O2 means OSPF type 2, external type 2. Okay, this is pointing to the correct interface. So we are good here, and routing OS. Let's go to OSPF. We see the area, we see the interface now, and we should see the neighbor also. Yeah, the status should be in full state. Okay, let's check the other firewall. Virtual routers, more runtime stats, routing table, and yeah, these are the routes from from firewall 2. Same, it's active O2, and let's go to OSPF, area, interface, and the neighbor. Right, this is in full state. So this is the basic OSPF setup which we can do. Okay, let's close this. So now let's test some features, some more features which we didn't configure. Okay, let me close this. Let me configure some filtering. Okay, so I have configured some tunnel interfaces also on this firewall. So let me configure some routes related to that. Static routes. Let me add one route to the tunnel interface. Let me give test route. Let us give the say 711.0/24 interface tunnel.1. Next stop. I don't need anything. Okay, and in the redistribution profile. Okay, let me first commit it and see whether that route is propagating to the other firewall or not. Okay, done. .1.1.0. So it has come, right? It is propagating. Okay, so now let's filter it. So let me go to redistribution profile again. Now from here, what I'll do is I want to advertise only routes from my internal, from my Ethernet 1 interface, and not the tunnel interface. Okay, so that tunnel route I don't want to get advertised. And in the destination also, I want to specifically advertise only 1.1.1.0, say, for example. So currently you can see 1.1.1.0, 17.1.1.0, and 1.1.10.0. All the routes are getting advertised. Okay, now I just want all the static routes which are on this interface and only for this destination I want to advertise. So let me click OK. Come. Okay, it's done. So see, right now there are 14 items. Let me refresh it, and the items have just gone to 11. So what we see now is only one route, that is 1.1.1.0, which we configured here to advertise, right? So this is how you can filter the routes based by through with the help of redistribution profile. We can filter the routes like this. Okay, now let me, okay, now let me remove that. Okay, and now let's authenticate the neighbors, right? So there's we have a feature here for authentication, and what this will do is the neighbors will authenticate themselves, and only if the authentication is successful they will form the neighborship. So let's create an auth profile for authentication. We can do a password as simple password, or we can put an MD5 hash of all the items here, but I'll keep it as simple password as of now. Okay, now we have created the authentication profile, but this profile has to be selected on particular interfaces where you want neighbors to get authenticated. So if I go to, I was a bit fast, so in the area interface, click on interface and auth profile. Okay, select that auth profile, and all the neighbors on this interface now will get authenticated. Click on OK, click on commit. Okay, this is committed. Now let's go to another firewall and let's see. Let's refresh it. Now the authentication should kick in within few seconds. Let's see the neighborship. Okay, the neighbor is gone. Let me close this and let me open it again. Routing. Okay, and see, now you don't see any OSPF routes, right? The OSPF area is there, interface is there on this firewall, but the neighbor is not there because we didn't configure authentication on this side. So let us configure authentication on this side as well so that the neighborship is successful. We need to enter the same password which was entered there, and in the area interface tab, select that interface and select that profile. Let me commit it. Okay, it's committed. Let's do a refresh and then let's open this and see the neighborship. Okay, so neighborship is full, you can see here. Same thing we'll check here also on this firewall. OSPF, see there are OSPF routes now getting advertised. All the routes, all the static routes have been advertised, and the neighborship is also full now. Okay, so this is how you do the authentication between the peers. Now from the diagram you see that I have created loopback interfaces also, but not advertised those loopback interfaces. So let's do that. Let me configure that on the firewall first. So just to show you, we have one loopback interface on this firewall and two loopback interfaces on this firewall, and I want to advertise these routes also to each other. Okay, so let me go to the uh, redistribution profile. And as you can see, now if you want to advertise the connected routes, we need to select this option. Okay, so it will advertise the connected routes. But if I go on the firewall, okay, let me log into the CLI. Okay, show routing route. If you see the loopback interface, uh, subnet, which is this. Okay, so it is not a connected route. Okay, no, neither it is a static route. S means so here you can find the explanation. S means static and C means connected. Okay, so connected routes are, for example, these routes on the interface. But the loopback IP, it doesn't create a connected route. Neither it is a static route. It is a host route. Okay, so if you want to advertise this, we will need to do some tweaks, which I'll show you now. So let me go back to the uh, firewall and let me cancel this and go to Ospf and go to export rules. Here the static profile is already there. Let me add one more profile, and this time what we'll do is we won't select a redistribution profile which we created. Okay, here you can see that we can enter IP subnets also. So let me add the loopback IP subnet 192.168.1.1/32. Okay, this is the loopback IP on firewall 1. Okay, let's keep all the settings the same and click on OK. Let us do the same thing on the other firewall. Go to virtual routers, default, and OSPF. Here we have two loopback interfaces. So in the export rules, we'll create two profiles: 192.168.2.1/32 and 20.1. Okay, so these are the loopback interfaces on this firewall. Now I want to advertise these to each other. Okay, so I'll just click on OK and click on commit here as well. Okay, it is committed. Let me close it and let's see if those routes have come. 192.168.2.1 and 20.1. Okay, so now the loopback interface routes are also getting advertised. Let me pull up the CLI. Just bear with me for a few seconds. Okay, and let's show routing route. You can see this route. Now let me ping that from this loopback. Sorry, this will be closed and this will be the actual loopback IP on the other side. Yep, it's pingable. And this is the another loopback IP, and for some reason this is not pingable. No problem. We can have a look at that. But the routes are still there. So, okay, let me get back to the GUI. Let me refresh it. So route is still there. Okay, let us check the routes here also. 192.168.1.1. Okay, so this is the loopback interface on the other firewall, which is learned here. Let me close it and let's have a look at the interface, loopback, and okay, so you see there is some configuration mistake which I've done. I haven't mentioned the subnet mask. So let me rectify that. Okay, looks good now. Let me commit it. Yeah, and in the meanwhile, let me pull up the CLI of this firewall and ping to the firewall one loopback IP. Okay, so route, so route. I want to ping this particular IP. Okay, so show interface all ping with this loopback, local loopback to 1.1. It's pingable, working fine. And let's see if that commit is done. Yep, commit is done. So let me pull up this CLI again. This is the firewall 1 and let me ping this again. Okay, it still doesn't ping for some reason. Okay, let me minimize this and go back to the firewall to see what is the issue. Okay, so it is so silly of me. The IP of the loopback itself is wrong. This should be 21. This should be 20. As per our diagram, this should be 20. Yes, and let me commit it again. Okay, it's done. Let me pull up the CLI again and let us ping. I hope. Yeah, finally this is pinging now. Okay, so we're good here. And let me go to the firewall again. So this is basically how you advertise loopback interface IPs, and we saw that it's now because of OSPF the connectivity has also been established according to our diagram. So loopback interfaces on firewall 1 can ping the loopback interfaces on firewall 2 and vice versa. So that's it guys on this video. Let me know in the comments if you find anything interesting, or if you want me to try something new on the firewall, you can mention it. And I hope it was useful, and thank you for watching.